In tonight's headlines, Pro-Beijing Heavyweight tells the government to pull the plug on the waste charging scheme, saying it's dragging Hong Kong's feet on economic development. US Treasury Chief Janet Yellen urges Beijing to address overcapacity, saying cheap Chinese exports are hurting the world. And Hongkongers gain an average of $6,000 in their MPF savings in the first 3 months of the year.
Just 1 week after a trial run kicked off for the municipal solid waste charging scheme, a pro-Beijing heavyweight now wants the controversial levy shelved. Publishing an op-ed on Mingpao, Lo Mantun said the waste tax has been an impossible mission from the start. He claimed the scheme was proposed by opposition lawmakers in the past and only gained passage in the legislature under political pressure. He felt Hong Kong does not have what it takes to roll out a garbage tax on August 1st, as evidenced by the chaotic scenes during last week's trial run. Lo urged authorities to pull the plug on the scheme, saying the controversy is diverting society's attention from economic development. That is also the government's most pressing task, he said, after legislation for Article 23 of the Basic Law was completed. The bold remarks drew a mixed response, however.
Federation
of Trade Unions lawmaker Kwok Wai-keung questioned how an environmental policy cannot go in tandem with the city's development. Kwok admitted the usage rate of designated bags has been low at the venues on trial, even though the bags were distributed for free. But he felt it was too early to jump to the conclusion, as more people may start picking up the habit later. The lack of recycling facilities and food waste recycling bins should not be the deal-breaker either, Kwok argued. This is not a chicken and egg situation, he said, adding everyone must do their part by reducing waste at source. Janice Low, Cable News. Customs have arrested a 31-year-old man in relation to the largest suspected gold smuggling case on record. Officers raised their suspicions after going through X-ray scans of an air consignment to Japan about 2 weeks ago. A closer inspection revealed 146 kilograms of gold was concealed within the 2 air compressors. The precious metal, worth $84 million, was molded into various shapes which fit into the machines. Acting head of Customs Syndicate Crimes Investigation Bureau, Lau Youk-lung, pointed out that the smugglers would have evaded duties of $8.4 million if the shipment made its way to Japan successfully. He believed the syndicate has been uprooted, adding more people could be arrested in relation to the case.
Chief Executive John Lee has assured investors that Hong Kong's future as an international financial hub remains bright, citing its resilience and perseverance during tough times. Speaking at a 3-day global investment summit organized by HSBC, Lee pledged to do more to boost the city's competitiveness and enhance the stock market's liquidity. His remarks came after Hong Kong raised only $46 billion of funds through initial public offerings last year, a 56% drop from 2022. But Lee was confident that Hong Kong remains a vital gateway for overseas businesses and investors to enter the mainland market.
Hong Kong never rests on its laurels, even at the best times. At the less than best of times, Hong Kong remains in the game. We're working to reinforce Hong Kong's status as the world's offshore renminbi hub. About 3/4 of all offshore renminbi payments are processed right here in Hong Kong. Well over 20 major stocks available in Hong Kong can now be traded in both Hong Kong dollars and renminbi, giving holders of offshore renminbi more investment choices.
Lee stressed that Hong Kong remains Asia's largest hedge fund center and the second largest in terms of private equity, managing a pool of over $180 billion. The SAR's free flow of capital, low and simple tax regime, and many other advantages will help uphold its world-class position in the years to come, he added. Janet Yellen, Cable News.
Wrapping up her 5-day tour of China, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen once again raised concerns of overcapacity for the world's second-largest economy.
China is now simply too large for the rest of the world to absorb this enormous capacity. Actions taken by the PRC today can shift world prices. And when the global market is flooded by artificially cheap Chinese products, the viability of American and other foreign firms is put into question.
Earlier in the day, Yellen met People's Bank of China Governor Pan Gongsheng. The two top economic officials shared a friendly moment before cameras, shaking hands ahead of a closed-door meeting and working lunch. Pan was seen without an interpreter in a show of confidence for the monetary official who once studied in Cambridge and Harvard. As global stock markets rallied in the first quarter, Hong Kong workers also saw healthy gains to their pension fund accounts. According to the Mandatory Provident Fund consultant GUM, each MPF scheme holder earned an average of $6,022, or 2.5%, between January and March. The earnings varied by their portfolios. The biggest winners were investors of Japanese equity funds, which outperformed the rest of the field with a year-to-date return of 12.3%. U.S. stocks followed close behind with gains of 9.8%, above the 7.7% return for global equities. The worst performer was Hong Kong equities, which recorded a loss of 3.6%. But the MPF Scheme Authority insisted that, historically speaking, everyone's account still grew considerably. Over the 23 years since the MPF was introduced, the overall annualized return stood at 2.6%. Investors of equity and mixed assets funds are loving to the bank. They enjoy an annualized net return of 3.8%, and over 130% cumulatively. A default investment strategy fund was also launched in 2017 for people who know little about stock markets or are simply too lazy to manage their portfolios. The low-risk option still boasted annual returns of up to 6% or 50% over 7 years. The authority reiterated that MPF is a long-term investment that spans decades and urged scheme holders not to engage in speculative moves. Bess Leung, Cable News.
There's no ice to break in Hong Kong, but China's first domestically built polar expedition vessel set sail into Victoria Harbour under much fanfare this morning. The Smuggling 2, literally meaning snow dragon, arrived from Antarctica after a 161-day scientific expedition. This marks the first time the ice-breaking vessel has called at a Chinese port. The ship received a water salute from a marine police launch as it made its way to the docking point at Ocean Terminal in Tsim Sha Tsui. Around 460 scientists and researchers arriving on the Shuelong will share their experience with Hongkongers over the coming days. The team set off from Shanghai last November in what was China's 40th Antarctic expedition. In a charm offensive, Deputy Team Leader Wang Jinhui hopes there will be Hongkongers on the team one day. During their 5-day visit, the researchers will attend a climate change conference at Chinese University and meet students at the Science Museum. The icebreaker will also be open for public visits from tomorrow, and all tickets have been snapped up. Those who missed the chance to check out the vessel can still visit an exhibition at the Science Museum and learn about its history and research achievements. Janet Yellen, Cable News.